Pat Hindle with Microwave Journal. I'm here at IMS 2019 in Boston, talking to Donald Shepard, or better known as Shep, founder of AR Worldwide. So maybe you can tell us a little about it. You're celebrating your 50th year in business. Maybe you can give us some background about how you got started.
Well, first I want to understand where 50 years went. And I wouldn't mind if I wasn't 50 years older.
Yeah,
I've been stuck at this company for 50 years. But we started in the cellar. So we could only go up, I'd like to say. But I started, my partner was a mechanical engineer and I'm an electrical, and we had an accountant with us. He didn't last long, but the two engineers went on, and our first products were to be broadband, low-tolerant amplifiers. And in those days, things were a lot different. I needed a driver for the 30-watt amplifier, and I wanted that to be solid state. And we made an amplifier that went from 1 megahertz to 250 at 2 watts. It was hard.
Look how far you've come.
Well, the point is we can do that today at 100,000 watts. Solid state, we can do it. Then doing it solid state, 2 watts was almost state of the art. But we needed it as a driver for a 8-tube distributed amplifier. And our first product was the 2-watt amplifier in its own box, and then the 2-watt amplifier driving an 8-tube distributed amplifier, and we had 30 watts from a megahertz to 250 in a package like that, power supply and everything. And we sold it, and that started our company. In those days, we had trouble with trying to make solid-state amplifiers at high power and broadband. And they were trying to switch the automotive radios for telephones to solid state. But some of those transistors would put out spurious responses, and you weren't allowed, to do that. If you're going to broadcast it, you need typically 60 dB down for the spurious. And there was a large company that was having trouble, and they were having trouble buying an amplifier that didn't have spurious responses. So ours didn't have any, because the final was tubes and it was clean. And we had made one model, and I took this model to this company, and the engineer did everything he could, and he couldn't get any spurious to come out, so he needed that to test his output stages to make sure they didn't put spurious out themselves. So he needed the input to be clean. Anyway, his boss comes out and asks the engineer, "Do you like that? Does it work?" He says, "Yeah, it's all right." And he said, "Come with me." So I went with him. "I want it. I'm going to buy it, and you leave it here now." And that was our only amplifier, you understand. But on the other hand, I left it there to get an order. And about a week later, they called up and they wanted another one. And we said, "Well, we don't have another one, but we'll make you one." And they really helped start our company, because every time we shipped them one, they ordered another. And, we had no money from anything else in those days, so it was wonderful. Every time we made one, we got another order. Well, it's different today. Now we make the highest power solid-state broadband amplifiers. We have amplifiers now that do 50,000 watts at the opens and shorts. They're extremely broadband, they're linear, load tolerant. Rise time is extremely fast. So it's a different world now, but it's 50 years later.
Made a lot of progress.
Well, if I wasn't 50 years old, it'd be wonderful, but 50 years older. But it's been a wonderful experience. And our company now has new amplifiers, high microwave frequencies, antennas. I think we have more antennas than an antenna company. We have field sensors, antennas, software, the most extensive range of amplifiers, I think, of any company in the world. If you look at our catalog, and we'd love to send to anybody, we have a brand new catalog to celebrate our 50th anniversary. And it's a beautiful catalog, you'll enjoy it. But you can see the depth of the products, the directional couplers, the antennas, the amplifiers from a megahertz to 18 gigahertz, from a watt to 100,000 watts.
Seems like about 10 years ago you rapidly expanded into Europe. What prompted that?
Well, we were already in Europe, but I'm not sure that's the way to say it. We were selling a lot in Europe, and that's, of course, why we wanted to have our own entity, and we started what's called AR Europe now. But we first started companies that were AR companies that sold AR products. In Europe, a lot of distributors have a lot of brands. We'd rather have the attention on ours. And Europe is a good market for our kind of products. We don't sell in third world markets. We need places we do very well, like in Japan, China. Germany was one of our better territories. So we wanted to get into Europe to have more coverage. I don't know if that's the right word, but
Yep, global coverage.
yeah. So we converted it to AR Europe later on. First we had separate entities. And started in England and then France and Germany and Benelux. And then we put them all together in AR Europe. They're still today together.
Any fond memories of the most challenging design that you did?
They were all hard. Well, I'm a hands-on engineer. And in the beginning, the way you did things in those days, you couldn't even get information on the transistors to design the way you would today. What you did was a design, and then you sat at the bench and made it work. And I can't tell you there was only one of those. There were a lot of them.
A lot of trial and error.
Today, the engineers design something, and it almost works. So we didn't have that kind of software. We didn't even have the information on the transistors. A transistor would be rated at 10 watts at 800 megahertz or something, and that's how they sold it. And they gave you, here's the circuit. But we were doing broadband and load tolerant, and those numbers never worked. And, in the beginning, we made it an important thing that we could operate our amplifiers into any VSWR, any load VSWR. And they had to be tested and designed from the start with that in mind, because you have to over-design the output stage so it can take the short and open and withstand those kind of abuses. And it was particularly fortunate that we did that because an industry was arising that needed it, called the EMC, with testing into mismatched loads like a shielded room. You have to have extreme load tolerance. If you're doing a sweep and frequency to see if it interferes with something, I'm talking about susceptibility testing. You don't want to have to stop because the amplifier shut down. And you don't want to stop because the amplifier has cut back to protect itself. You need the field. If you don't get the field, you can't finish the test. So we had, maybe unknowingly, designed a product that was a need had arisen for. And we're one of the largest suppliers of RF amplifiers and associated products for susceptibility testing, for EMC susceptibility testing. And that's a big field today because we put computers in everything. I don't know how many it is in the car now, but 25 computers or something. Well, if RF interferes with that, the car could crash and somehow. You have to test the car. And every new design is tested with high fields, 200 volts per meter, to see that it can withstand, so that it can drive by a TV station without the brakes failing. You'd probably want it to be that way. So this has become an important market. And by the way, it's not going to stop. Do you think the Generation 5 stuff, we're going to have base stations every couple hundred feet? Everything's going to be subject to RF interference. Everything. And what about cars that are self-driving? They have to get their information. And these things have to work, whether there's RF there or not. Whether there's a Generation 5 thing 100 feet or 10 feet away, they still going to have to work too. So it's an ongoing requirement, and AR is very well placed in the field to do that.
Well, congratulations on your 50th anniversary, and we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
If you could make me only 25 years older.
I wish I could. Same thing for me.
No, I had a wonderful life, and it's been an experience of 50 years, and the company's come
a long way. Well, thank you very much. Coming from IMS 2019 here in Boston.